We're going to review on how to multiply polynomials together in this section. We're going to start off with the easiest case scenario, or monomials. If we have the monomial of 3xy squared times 5x to the fourth y to the fifth, remember you multiply the coefficients together, so 3 times 5 will give us 15, and when we're multiplying variables we add the exponents. So if we have x times x to the fourth, that will be x to the fifth power, and y squared times y to the fifth will give us y to the seventh. We can also use the distributive property with a monomial. Let's look at 2ab times 3b squared minus 2a plus 2a squared. When you're multiplying a monomial times another polynomial, remember you have to distribute. We want to do the 2ab times the 3b squared. That will give us 6ab to the third. Then we want to do the 2ab times the negative 2a. The number part will be a negative 4. The letter part, we have 2 of the a's and just 1 of the b's. Remember, we do not have to write the exponent of 1. And when we multiply 2ab times 2a squared, we're going to get a positive 4a to the third b. Notice there are no terms that look alike, so we cannot combine the like terms. When multiplying binomials together, your method that most of you will think about first is going to be the FOIL method. First, outer, inner, and last. Let's look at 3x plus 7 times 4x minus 5. Your first terms multiplied together will be the 3x times the 4x, and that's going to give us 12x to the second power. Your outer terms are going to be 3x and the negative 5. Well, 3x times negative 5 is going to be a negative 15x. Your inner terms are going to be your positive 7 and your 4x. So 7 times 4x will give us a positive 28x. And our last terms will be a positive 7 and a negative 5. 7 times negative 5 is going to give us negative 35. Of course, we always have to look for combining like terms. You'll notice that we have a negative 15x and a positive 28x that can be combined. This will leave us with 12x squared plus 13x, because the 13 will be positive, minus 35. When you're multiplying together binomials, I want you to think of it as a distributive property. If we think of it as the distributive property, it's actually the same thing as FOIL. We're going to multiply the 2x times the 3x plus 6, and then we're going to multiply the negative 7 times the 3x plus 6. That way, everything in the first parentheses will be multiplied by that second parentheses. At this point, you just have to do the distributive property. 2x times 3x will give us 6x squared. 2x times positive 6 will give us a positive 12x. Negative 7 times 3x will give us a negative 21x. And negative 7 times positive 6 will give us a negative 42. Combining our like terms, a negative 21 and a positive 12 will leave me with a negative 9x. And there's nothing to combine with the 6x squared and the minus 42. If you'll think of multiplying as a big distributive property instead of the FOIL, it will be much easier for when we multiply polynomials of more than 2 terms. Let's look at the polynomial of 3x minus 7 times 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. Since we have a binomial times a trinomial, we really have to do the 3x times everything in the second parentheses, and then we're going to have to come back and do the negative 7 times everything in the second parentheses. That's a lot of arrows, so I suggest you write it out. First term in the first parentheses is 3x times our second parentheses of 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. And we're going to do the next term, or the last term in the first parentheses, of the negative 7 times the last parentheses of 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. At this point, you'll just have to do two distributive properties. 3x times 2x squared is going to give me a positive 6x to the third power. 3x times 5x will give me a positive 15x squared. 3x times positive 2 will give me a 6x. Negative 7 times 2x squared will give me a negative 14x squared. Negative 7 times 5x will give me a negative 35x. And negative 7 times that last term of positive 2 is going to give me a negative 14. Looking for terms to combine, I only have one term with an x cubed in it. For my x squareds, I have a positive 15x squared and a negative 14x squared, which will leave me with a positive 1x squared. You can either write the 1 or leave the 1 off. For my x terms, I have positive 6x and negative 35x. That's going to leave me with a negative 29 of the x's. And for my constant term, I just have minus 14. Let's look at that process again if we have a trinomial times a trinomial. Let's look at x squared minus 5x plus 8 times x cubed plus 2x squared minus 7. This is just going to be a big distributive property where everything in the first parentheses has to be multiplied by the second parentheses. So we start off saying the x squared has to be multiplied by that second parentheses. Then we're going to have to turn around and do the negative 5x times the second parentheses. And then the positive 8 times the second parentheses. If you will write this step out, it should keep you a little bit more organized. And at this point, you just do your distributive properties. X squared times x to the third. Remember to add the exponents will be x to the fifth. X squared times a positive 2x squared is going to give me a positive 2x to the fourth. X squared times a negative 7 will give me negative 7x squared. Moving to the second distributive property, negative 5x times x to the third is negative 5x to the fourth. Negative 5x times 2x squared is going to be a negative 10x to the third. Negative 5x times negative 7 is going to give me a positive 35x. The last one, positive 8 times x cubed is positive 8x cubed. 8 times 2x squared is going to give me a positive 16x squared. And 8 times negative 7 will finally give us the negative 56. It's all done except for the cleanup, combining the like terms. There's nothing to combine with x to the fifth. When I look at my x to the fourth terms, I have 2x to the fourth minus 5x to the fourth, which is going to leave me with negative 3 of the x to the fourth. For my x cubed terms, I have negative 10x cubed, positive 8x cubed. That's going to leave me with negative 2 of the x cubes. For the squared terms, I have negative 7x squared and positive 16x squared, which is going to leave me with a positive 9 of the x squareds. I have one of the positive 35x's, which will not combine with anything else, and then the negative 56, which will not combine with anything else. Keep organized. These should not be that difficult for you. Let's go over one more thing before we leave the multiplying polynomials. Remember, if you are going to square a binomial, that really means that you write that binomial 2 times and multiply it together. At this point, you're either going to do FOIL or the distributive property. You're going to have to do the x times the x plus 2 and the positive 2 times the x plus 2, leaving us with x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4, or as we can see, that will be x squared plus 4x plus 4. These get a little bit more difficult if we have to cube a binomial. If we have x plus 3 to the third power, remember that means we're going to have to multiply x plus 3 times x plus 3 times x plus 3. Your brain is only capable of multiplying two things together at a time. So let's multiply the first x plus 3 times x plus 3. That's going to give us x squared plus 3x plus another 3x plus 9. We still have to multiply that by the x plus 3, but I want to clean up the first parentheses by combining like terms, which will leave us x squared plus 6x plus 9. Now, we have a trinomial times a binomial. We're going to have to multiply the x squared times the x plus 3, the positive 6x times the x plus 3, and the positive 9 times the x plus 3. And this will ensure us that everything in the first parentheses will get multiplied by that second parentheses. So x squared times x will give us x to the third power. X squared times 3 will give us a positive 3x squared. 6x times x will give us a positive 6x squared. 6x times 3 will give us a positive 18x. 9 times x will give us a positive 9x. And 9 times 3 will give us a positive 27. To clean up, we'll have x to the third, 9 of the x squareds, 27 of the x's, and 27 as the number. Take your time with these.